I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. I'm here with Storozhuk, and we're going to do an update on Ukraine. And we got a special guest in here today. We have Max, and I'm going to try this. Makachuk. Close?
Makovchuk.
Makovchuk.
Yeah.
There you go. Max Makovchuk. You know, I just like, thanks for coming in, Max. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Ukraine. Obviously, there's talks of peace, but then next day you see just more bombing and heavier bombing sometimes. And what's the mood in Kiev right now?
Well, there were some hopes for this summit and meeting, but many people, I guess, expected what would happen. Nothing, right? The Ukrainians learned Putin too well in this time. What do you think, Max? What's the mood in general in Ukraine?
It's pretty sad. People just confuse it because no one shows the real some analysis of the war, how many people dies, how many money spent. No one knows this stuff, so the people just confuse it. Sometimes, like my grandma right now in Ukraine, and the prices from war started goes like 3 times up higher.
So inflation going crazy too.
Yes,
yeah.
Inflation, yes, of course. And just light, they don't have light very much, like electricity, yes.
Power.
They turn the power off every 3 hours for 3 hours. So 3 hours you have lights, 3 hours you don't.
So that's probably just in sections so that the grid's not strong enough to support everything.
They just save power to support military. But this is how the most Ukraine look right now. Especially east side, it's not, real war anymore. It's just all destroyed. And
Trump says that all the time, and media tries to tell me that's not true. But I mean, he shares that like 7,000 soldiers a week. Is that somewhere close to what you hear? You say your father's on the front lines too, right?
Yes. But I don't know. We can't talk much about it because the Russian hear what we say between each other, and they want to take some information. They might help them, but we don't talk about this much stuff. We talk about general probably with father.
But I mean, your father is on the front line though too, and I mean that's gonna be tough for the family, right? To know that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in.
You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow or
in the next 10 minutes, right? You don't know.
Yep.
Right? So.
He says he see dead body every day. It's just normal part of the day for him. So yeah.
And your friend just left to volunteer to enlist.
Right? But he actually will fight too.
Yeah.
And how old is he?
21.
So
he was here in Kelowna.
Yeah.
He decided to go.
And what is the draft age? Like if you're there, what is the age now that they're taking young men?
You can go at 18 years old, but
as volunteer.
As your own choice.
There's conscription though too, right?
Conscription from 24?
25. 25 you must go. They just take you right away and
And then somebody shared, it was an American that shared that they're taking people over 60 now too? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, those were unvalidated.
They for sure have maybe
verified. People probably go, right? But
no, you can enlist, when after you're 18, but they don't draft you.
I imagine you have, if your friend just left to go there, you must have other friends that are in the battle as well.
Yes, I've been studying in a military license, so most of my friends...
Military academy. He was going to military academy before the war.
Yes, for 1.5 years. And most of my friends just stayed in the military, like military way in the life, and they just want to fight, and So most of my friends just on the battlefield.
So what do you think the mood on the front lines and the mood in the cities for civilian population from your perspective?
Yes, in cities it's for sure easier than on a battlefield, because on a battlefield you just need to be really, really hard, strong physique to carry 40 kilograms backpack and all equipment and plus gun, the
ammunition, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all grenades, and just need to be really, really hard physical. So it's for sure easier in regular life in Ukraine, but still it's people just surviving sometimes. Like my grandma, she get pension, $150 per month, and they're just surviving for food. And yes, it's good they have some garden and stuff, they have some property so they can grow. But still, like, it's nothing. It's in Ukraine, for this type of money, you can live maybe half a month. So you need to be really hard with money.
And how is it in Kiev right now? Are they still like I know we see sometimes on the news that there's actual bombings in the city. Are they looking for military targets, or is it just kind of random targets, or?
It's more like random targets for sure. My friends, he's right now who lived from Kelowna. He's living in Kiev right now. So he said he always takes with him как будет турникет?
A tourniquet to stop bleeding if you find somebody or whatever, right?
So so he always need to have it with himself.
Just when he's walking in the city.
Just he walking in the city, he always need to have it with him and train every day to put it as fast as he can because it might save his life.
Or somebody else's, right?
Yes, of course.
So the biggest, how I see, just imagine you go to sleep and you don't know whether you wake up or not.
Yeah,
like
the chance,
the chance is not so big, but you are under constant threat. And it's hard to say, it's not public information how many military targets hit by Russians every night versus civilians.
But they obviously go after infrastructure, though, too, power plants.
Yeah, so there is only official information how many rockets and how many drones were launched by Russia and how many are destroyed. But where the actual hits are, some people think that the Russians try to hit military targets, and only if they miss, then they get to civilians, or not. But the problem is that many military targets, they are inside the city, right? So there could be some factories and so on, and people work on these factories, same civilians that work on these factories. So.
I mean, they converted most of the economy into like a war manufacturing economy too. I mean, by necessity. Yeah.
Right? And by the way, the military drones manufacturing, I think, is one of the most advanced in the world now, because of all engineering resources
real battlefield
we have.
Testing too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So there were even talks, I think, between Zelensky and Trump about some kind of joint venture to produce the military drones because Ukraine have so much expertise now.
There must have been a bit of a little bit of hope there when Putin visited with Trump in Alaska. There, I did too. I mean, I thought, okay, so we're getting close, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, because every day it's somebody's last day, right? It's young men, right, and people, like just civilians, right? Yeah. And every day, you know what I mean?
But you see, the actual problem now is that, as I see, it's basically more psychological war between Trump and Putin than real diplomacy or anything. But Trump, I think he does have a goal to stop the war, kind of in ceasefire or whatever, right? Just to, as he says, so people don't die and he gets his Nobel Prize. But he don't care what conditions of this.
He's not. I mean, his goal is to end the war.
Yeah, he don't care about that, right? So if he thinks if he can broker the deal where Putin and Zelensky will sign whatever are conditions, that will be victory for him. But in Ukraine, it does not work like that. Like we were fighting for 3 years, we hold every inch of our ground, and I think. And Max, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of Ukrainian population still think that we should not give up. Not in the way of surrendering, nobody talks about that, but giving up some territories officially, as Putin wants, or he wants our forces to retreat from big fortresses we still have. So most of Ukrainians' mood is, no, why we would do that, We don't want to do that. It's not a proper way for going to ending the war. We don't want to give any territory.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But you're 17.
Yes.
Right. And then, so what are your plans? You're going to turn 18 pretty soon.
Yes. So I just plan to be here for now. For sure, make some money.
You just graduated from high school, right?
Yes, I just finished school. I've been in an online school for 2 years, for 2 grades, so I can work full time and help my mom to pay all expenses.
So is there pressure for you to go home and fight though? Or is there pressure for you to stay from your family not to go home and fight?
What do you mean?
Or is it-
Can you say
I
again?
mean,
Sorry?
like, I mean, if I was your mother, I wouldn't let you go.
Yes,
That's
my
what I'm
mother
saying.
saying the same
If I
thing.
was, you know, like if I was your friend, I would say come, right? Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, like there's that push-pull, I'm sure, right, between, because a mother's job is to protect, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom doesn't want me to go to the war for sure.
Every mother would be that, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a mother's job.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time, you know, and she just cared.
You're her baby.
Yes, of course.
But do you have any, you know, thoughts about that? Like, would you? Is there some part of you that want to go, or you completely just
I don't
want
know.
to stay?
I kind of born, like all my mentality born in military school with like 300 mans, and we wake up at 5 a.m., run, and you know, all this discipline every day, maybe 2 years straight. And I don't know, maybe some part of me just like it because it's not about war, about politics. Like I don't care. I don't like to kill people, but it's just I like the discipline what the military has.
The strength of the military. It's a gang in a way. It's a formalized gang,
Yeah.
right? You feel a part of a brotherhood, right? And
Yes.
It's a brotherhood, sisterhood.
And,
I mean,
it's very strong on Ukrainian
yeah, for
front
sure,
right now.
right? I mean, it's and that's why, like, if you look in the Americans, you know, they get lots of enlistment because there's a lot of pride in their military as well, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of pride in the Ukrainian military. I mean,
As
otherwise, they
opposed-
wouldn't fight for 3.5
As
years.
opposed
right?
to Russian military. Russian military, like from what I hear, like all the kind of privates that they get, it's like a meat for them, for the officers. They just, okay, we will expand 1,000 more people today, and we'll get 1,000 more
They
next
use money
day.
to kind of get people in there.
Yeah,
like,
so they don't. There is no brotherhood in the Russian military per se, as far as I understand.
They go like a zombie. Like my friend who goes to the war, his friend just died 2 months before he leaves the Kelowna, and his friend said, like Russian, it's not people because they see other guys like fighting in here and just waiting until they come and just shoot them, but they just going and non-stopping, so they don't have fear. Maybe like what they was thinking, they use some drugs.
maybe somebody shoots them in the back. Do you know what I mean? Because that was, it used to be like they say you go forward or you get shot. If you come back, you get shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And that was
That's
that
part
was
of it.
in the
Yeah.
Second World War, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
in
did
Soviet.
that. The Germans did that, right?
Soviets did
They
it.
said you know you go forward or you get shot
Yeah.
on the way
Yeah.
back. So they
No,
don't have
Soviets
much
did
choice.
it much more than
Yeah.
Germans.
Well, there you go.
They have a second opinion for it that they might use drugs in a lot of videos just become popular in internet when the Russian people just sitting in a house just chilling after a fight and drink and use drugs. So
What do you think of like the media? Obviously, the Russians are being fed propaganda from their media. They're not showing the real horrors
Yeah.
of the movie.
of course.
And it's the same thing. We don't see it as much either here, right? Like, 'cause we don't get to see. You know, like we get more of this than I get, you know, on the mainstream media because you know usually you just get some updates that you know like Putin launched more bombs and then you get some talking head there from the United States talking whatever, and then Zelensky comes and you know and they talk and they chuckle and stuff like that and they try to get money and more bombs and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a human cost to this, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I'm sure a lot of
And
the
that's
mothers,
huge,
right?
huge
You know,
cost.
the human cost, and then the culture that's been lost. You know, we look back to the Second World War in France. I mean, the France gave up when a phone call, right? They said we're going to bomb Paris tomorrow, and that was the end. And it's because they were trying to protect the culture of thousands of years. And Ukraine has similar cultures, right? So and it's the heritage of the Ukrainian people as well, right? So
But it's not only heritage. Like, for example, it's interesting. Like some people in Ukraine at least think that it's about the language and so on. But what I heard from most of the people who actually fight on the front line, they just don't want to live in Russia. They don't want their kids to live in Russia, in the current Russia, as it is now with Putin,
right.
Because it's oppressive state. No freedom, no future, nothing, right? And that's the main reason they fight for. They just want to live in a free democratic country. Of course, Ukraine has its own problem with corruption and so on, but it is free. And,
like as a young man, are you sometimes frustrated with NATO in a bit too? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but there's a lot of tough talk sometimes from NATO, but then like they don't, because if NATO stepped in, especially the Americans. I mean, let's just say the Americans. If the Americans stepped in, they would change the game, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, America is still the biggest military in the world.
Yeah, but
right?
right now, if there is a balance on the front line,
Yeah.
it's very easy to keep the balance with some substantial
Yeah.
force.
Yeah.
Substantial.
But I mean, obviously, like the threat that Putin holds is the nuclear.
That's the only.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the only
threat,
reason.
right?
Otherwise, it will be finished.
And like as if he,
Yeah.
did, I mean, I just watched horrible. I watched the anniversary of Hiroshima here. Just I think it was a few days ago, right?
And it was very little bomb, very small.
Very small, yeah,
Yeah,
very
like
very
6
small. And then
kilotons or
I don't know
something,
if you ever watched it, but
Yeah.
it's on the internet, and you can watch the blast radius
Yeah.
and what it did, right? But you don't want to watch that actually, but
Yeah, I can show you my friends. This was 2 days ago. This like East Ukrainian map.
mhm.
This is all Russian drones.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so it's
So they get
once
Yeah.
once
you
in a
can put
month.
it later in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do it once in a month, like big attack.
Yeah, like
and then,
500,
like almost
600.
like
Yes.
flies, right?
Yeah.
Like
but in start of the war, it was like 100 maybe.
Yeah.
But now it's getting
they
up
ramped
to
up
600.
the production big time. Big
Yep.
time.
no.
So, do you want to talk about this, like development of last week?
Sure, let's do
Yeah,
that.
the-
Let's do that.
Yeah. So, the opinion that my personal that I get more from most of the friends and so on, that Putin had his victory in Anchorage in Alaska. I think he get his goal to be accepted, so not to be like some kind of dictator of terrorist state,
Right.
but Putin, Trump himself accepted him, waiting, talking, shaking hands, all of that. So Putin kind of getting back he thinks, at least he getting back his influence and his image, in the world. And he did not promise anything. He did not give up anything.
I'll share something what I got out of it though, which I think is promising, because it wasn't just Putin that showed up. It was like 500 businessmen that showed up,
He brought the ministers and so on because
and a whole bunch of people that want to do deals.
he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted to kind of hide the problem of war in Ukraine under the business deals, like Arctic economy and so on. And Trump did not go for that.
Yeah.
And,
But he said he won't do any deals until the war's over.
Exactly.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So it sounds like to me that maybe even the Russian power base, the business people are tired of being isolated from the world, right? You know what I mean? And that pressure would probably be pushing Putin to
it's
a deal
one of the
too,
pressures he has.
right? Do you know what I mean? Because these people want deals because they have been isolated.
Yep.
Their economy has been isolated, right? And if Trump can shut off India, because India is the one that's kind of keeping them alive with this brokering the gasoline, because that's what fuels their army is that
the money, of course, it all
money,
comes from
right? All
selling
comes from
oil
money,
and
right?
gas.
So India is the one that's really feeding that war machine, right? Because so I to me, I thought that looked good, and then it was talking about another date and things like that, and I thought the one thing that I thought was dangerous was like, oh, Putin and Zelensky are going to meet. I don't think that's oil and water. I think they're never going to together do anything, right? Trump has to be there at every meeting, right? Because
the problem is that Putin does not want to meet Zelensky.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but they're not going to see eye to eye on anything.
No,
right?
Zelensky is okay now.
Yeah.
But Putin does not want to meet him, and the main reason because he says that he doesn't recognize Zelensky as head
Right,
of Ukraine.
exactly. That's what I mean. So that's going to go nowhere. So if Trump wants to make something happen, he's going to have to go and make it happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah, but I think, of course, it was victory of Putin and loss of Trump. But as you mentioned, I think Trump did something proper in the way that he did not want to talk about any
Yeah, he
deals.
said nothing until something happens, right? And then he tried it today again.
Yeah.
And I think he's using little bribes, and he pulled out that because like the FIFA World Cup, and he said, look, he's going to come to the FIFA World Cup only if he ends this war, right? So he's trying to. I think he's trying to use, and that's Trump's thing is economic stuff, right? Economic.
I think economic for Putin does not matter anything because, but his personal ego does mean something for Putin. So some things that Trump is doing because he has his personal ego he might be able to push right buttons for Putin.
Well, at least somebody's trying to push the button, I guess. You know what I mean? Like somebody's trying to push buttons because, I mean, they had another thing that I thought was very hopeful. They had, I think, it was 7 world leaders in the room.
That was.
They had 7 world leaders in the room and saying, and the Finnish guy said that we've had more progress in 2.5 weeks than we've seen in 3.5 years, right? Because for 3.5 years, we never even talked peace, right? We never even, that word wasn't even, because it would say we will never talk peace. But I mean, I don't want to see more young men go to the front line. And
nobody wants, but again, many people, there are people who think it could be ended like that. And they see, okay, there is almost no progress in Ankara, there is almost no progress in Washington, but it is steps in the right direction. Even they are small, they're still steps, because what happened in Washington that most of Europe, all the powerful countries of Europe, NATO, European Union, they all confirmed that they're standing in Ukraine and they are ready to offer money for buying weapons, and they're ready to offer peacekeepers.
Yeah. And I think that was, the big point for Ukraine, if the Americans agreed to it, sounded like they were willing, is to actually put American troops there, like as because an attack on American troop would be the
but even if European troops are there, it's as good.
It'd be a NATO thing. Right?
So I think the talk is currently at least the best hopes solution that there will be European peacekeepers, but America will provide air coverage. Air support.
And they have the air support. I mean, that is the thing.
Oh, they did not think twice about using it in Iran.
And Trump did flex there, right? You know, when he flew the B-2 bomber overhead with the jets, right? That was a flex, right?
That was
you know what I mean? That was, and then the tarmac was loaded with F-35s, right? So, and that's the thing. And then and the wars changed though too. And for you showed that map of drones, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a robotic kind of war too, right? Where it's
half. Half.
The tanks don't play any significant role anymore.
Yeah, because the robots, the drones, and
drones, artillery still play some role, but tanks.
You know what? Way back in the day, you got a name from Roman times, right? Maxim. Alexander the Great said something, right? He said it's very easy to defeat a country, but very hard to occupy a country, right? And that's what even Putin's learning, right? It's very easy, like in the Americans in Iraq. 3 days they wipe out the military, but then it took 20 years of occupation, right? I mean, it still didn't get anything, right? And then they finally left, right?
Yeah, I think in occupied territories, I think most of the resistance come from Ukrainian special forces because people just left these territories, right? People who want to fight or can fight. Because it was pretty easy either to go to Ukraine or Russia, and most of the people who remained are just old people who don't want to leave. So there is no.
I mean, it's a tough thing to occupy a country, especially when you can't tell the difference between a Ukrainian and a Russian. Really, do you know what I mean? Like how you're walking in the street, so it's really hard to. It's really easy to be undercover and do whatever it is that you want, right? So. And that was the same thing. The French surrendered, but there was the French underground, right?
Right.
And different things, right? So.
But they had nowhere to go, and in Ukraine it's a bit different. But anyway, most of the other than what Russians got in the first months of war, everything
it's been pretty much a stalemate. Right?
Everything after that, they move very slowly. But the only thing they gain is raised cities and villages. There is nothing, just concrete dust.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of the East looks like that, though.
But I mean, whatever they gained in the last 3 years, even if it's not so much, there is no value in it. And Russia, they don't need much land.
They have the largest land mass in the world.
So what are they doing it for? Nobody knows.
I don't know the answer to that, right?
It's not like Germany in World War II when they had some, we have a lot of people, we have small territory, we need Ukraine for the grain and so on. So they had some logic to it. Russians don't have any.
I mean, their logic is that they said they didn't want missiles parked on their doorstep, right? But I'm just saying what they said, right?
7 minutes or 8 minutes. Now Finland is part of NATO.
You and I get it, but I'm just saying that.
Finland is part of NATO. That's what they got after the.
Yeah, they share a large border, right?
Finland was neutral for 80 years.
Yeah.
until the attack.
Well, Finland
Ukraine.
was ruled by Russia for a long time.
Yeah, but then separated and so on. And
there's actually an
country.
island, I think, in Finland. I stayed in Finland for a while, and they said that Russians were trying to give it back to them, and they said they didn't want it.
Yeah.
Because they had to bring everybody up a standard of living, and the Russians had made them so poor there that nobody wanted that country, right? Or that little island, right?
Yeah.
Lots of weird things going on. I am in Max, you have a lot of friends, and tough time to be a young man, and not worried about your college education and all these other things that should be the normal course for a young man. Your choices in the next little while is whether to go back and fight or stay.
Well, he has, and many all Ukrainians in Canada have another problem that you can probably talk about.
Yeah, about PR and stuff.
Yeah, no, you mentioned
Yeah.
that before. Why is that? Why is the Canadian government dragging its feet on PRs for, especially, when we talk about, Canada's trying to open the door for people that are persecuted? I mean, is there a better example?
Yeah, but Canada need people. We have demographic problem. We have our average birth rate is less than 2. So our population.
But this guy looks like a strong young man that could work, right?
That's who we need, right? And he is working and paying taxes. He's 17-year-old. How many years you working already?
2.
He's working 2 years.
So what are they
company.
telling you? Why you're not getting your PR?
We didn't apply it for it yet because we've been discussing this topic with a counselor who learned about this all his life, and he said it's need really better English than I have for sure. Maybe.
But it's not only English.
Yeah, it's not only English. You need to have
Better
specific
than most immigrants.
I phone the CRA.
Yeah.
You could answer the phone there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you need English, you need money for it for sure, because when you apply the documents, you need to pay some monies for the counselor who organized everything and just make sure you got everything right. And yeah, you need also wait for it maybe half a year or about a year just for answer, and then I don't know why it's getting so hard here, but
it seems like a shame. I mean, an absolute shame. Like you said, the English, right? Phone a government agency and try to get somebody that speaks English.
No, and you see, the problem is he's mentioning about this, and that. The problem is that after that, I think their chance of getting positive approval is 10-20% maximum in current program, because they try to go through humanitarian program. There are no special pathway for Ukrainians who already in Canada, settled, pay taxes, learn the English. There is no special preference for them. And instead of that, we spend $5 billion every year just to get people from all over the world in hope that maybe they will be able to settle in Canada, not to go to social assistance.
And then you have young men that get sent back and just sent to the front line too, right?
Yeah, because when his visa expired and it's not extended, what other choice he would have?
yeah, just come back and try to survive there.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, inflation is high, power is intermittent. Supplies are probably
And the Ukraine never gonna be the same before war, because a lot of guys who was in fields, they will never come back as the same persons. I saw a lot of videos and just a lot of stories from guys who've been
PTSD.
полон взяли.
That were prisoners of war.
Yeah, when the Russian takes Ukrainian soldiers and just holds them in Russia for 2 years, and that's just
horrible.
Crazy what they're saying about. They say they don't give them food at all. They beat them up every day. Sometimes even when they give them food, they give it I told you just one of the story. So they give them a food really really hot food. Impossible to eat it. And they stand with the electrical thing, and they just say eat, and you have 2 minutes to eat. If you don't eat, you're not gonna eat for the rest of the day. And it just, it's not
They treat
humans.
Ukrainian fighters as
like dogs almost.
as
Yes.
animals. Yeah.
They want to kill. It sounds similar like a Holodomor in 1936, when Soviet Union made the rule where it's no money for food, and Ukrainians was surviving too, eating cats, eating dogs, eating their own childs. It's just in,
Well, I mean,
but-
I do have some cases throughout history where things, and we just talked about Japan, and Japan is one of the most successful economies in the world after what happened to them. I mean, it took a while, but same as Germany. You saw what happened in the hard line. And when somebody tries to tell you that communism works, you can take the example of Germany, and you can say they split Germany down the middle because it was the same thing on both
that's a
sides of
good
the street,
example.
right? The same thing on both sides of the street. And then one was East German run by the Russians, and the other side was the Americans. And then if you look at the success of West Germany versus East Germany, and then you can do the same thing in Korea, South Korea and North Korea, right? So there's many examples when people try to tell you that socialism and communism works. So you can tell them those examples, and you tell them where show me the success, and then I'll believe you. But
No, it only works for people on the higher up.
yeah, for sure, the elitism, right? It's very much elitism, right?
They live good life.
So, like I said, if Ukraine can find peace, and if the NATO and the Americans go in there and invest, there could be, it's going to be tough regardless, right? Even if the war ended tomorrow, it'll be tough, but there'll be some opportunity as well for young men to go back and rebuild,
and especially
right?
like right now when war started, a lot of Ukrainians like we're never gonna give up. It's how we born. And a lot of people starting learning like investments, learning how to deal with money. We didn't have much of this education in the school or so. So right now people are like have more realization about the situation in the world, and they just start learning about how to operate the money, how to make money in Ukraine. And it sounds maybe funny, but when the war started, people find more ways to make money. So it's like, it's more good opportunities to also make money from like USA stocks, or I don't know, from any other
market.
From other markets.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what Maxim mentioned actually is that before the war, I was searching for people for offshore software development. I was searching both in Ukraine and Russia, and there was a big contrast. Like most of Ukrainian developers that I talked to, they had decent English, knowledge how it operates, and so on. And in Russia, they did not know any English because they thought, why would we need it? We know Russian, we don't need anything else. And they had completely different attitude and so on. And I was so surprised because I was born in Soviet Union, grew in Soviet Union. In Soviet time, I did not feel much difference between Ukraine and Russia. But in these 30 years of independence that passed, it was going completely different directions. It was so interesting for me. In Ukraine, people are much more educated, much more open to the West. And by the way, about independence, our holiday is Sunday, Ukrainian Independence Day. So I would invite everyone to join us to celebrate it. We have rally planned on the overpass right here between you and Parkinson from 12 to 2. So we'll have Ukrainian rally, and then after that we'll probably go there somewhere for barbecue or something. So if anybody will want to support
And
Ukraine.
there's a Facebook page where people can go get details.
Yeah, Kilona stands
with Ukraine. You can go on that Facebook page, and you can find information.
Yeah, and another interesting event tomorrow from 1 to 7 in Ukrainian Orthodox Church on Barley Road. There is a VR virtual reality experience of Ukrainian war. So it's free. So people invited. Just basically how it works. I tried it myself. You just put on the VR glasses, and you see the streets of Ukraine, how they look before the war started and how they look now. Right. Yeah. It's an immersive experience. So I would invite everyone to come and see as well.
I think, the more people that know about what's going on with Ukraine, the more pressure that can be put on, right? So, everything helps. Like I said, hopefully, my hope is lots of times, a lot of policy is driven everywhere in the world. Policy is driven by money. Do you know what I mean? Like government policy maker, like lobbyists, right? They pressure government, right? Because the politician gets money or power from money. Yeah. And so if he brought 500 people, people looking to make deals, they'll be putting pressure and say, we need to do deals, right? Because, one thing is both Russia and Ukraine, Russia has vast lands that are so rich in resources, but I'm not sure why they need more. But
they don't. They don't need more.
the vast
Putin just got
lands,
bored.
right, that had many American companies already investing in Russia and Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So, and the only other piece of hope that I can give you is what happened in just, the anniversary was just here for Hiroshima. You would think there would be an intense hatred between the Japanese and the Americans for what happened. Like 150,000 people died in that one bomb, right? And they found a way forward, right? So,
Yeah. But by the way, yeah, what you mentioned, it's good to educate yourself about what's happening in Ukraine, and this event that I just talked to is a good way, because the Russian propaganda in Canada and States is very substantial. So, of course, going through internet, Facebook, and so on. Like we were sending a pickup truck to Ukraine, and there was story in Connect, and there were so many bad comments about that. And I'm sure it's from people who are influenced by Russian propaganda so much that they don't understand what's happening. So they were saying, why are you sending it? And so on. So many people don't have any idea. And the best way for you, for such people to learn what's really happening is to meet Ukrainians, speak firsthand, look firsthand through the
it's really hard to hate people once you get to know them.
Exactly. Yeah. Because their propaganda is very substantial. In Europe, they start arresting people now who are kind of putting Russian narratives in social media and so on, because it all happens that they paid by Russian Secret Service.
Yeah, sad situation. And like I said, hopefully, way before you have to go in the front, that there's peace, right? Like, because I'm sure your mother doesn't want that. Because many mothers don't want that, right?
But you brought good example. I did not think about that, about West Germany, East Germany, Korea, South Korea, North Korea. Well, the main reason they are so prosperous is at the Soviet time, West invested in them to make them like a showcase.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What could be.
Same as Japan. Look at their economy, right?
Yeah.
After that, right? They rebuilt their Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, Japan was like, you got to watch that video, but that obliterated, like it melted cement. And I mean, Japan is one of the economic hubs of the world.
Yeah, so that's hopefully that's one of the pathways for Ukraine.
Exactly.
After the
you know
peace.
what I mean? Like hopefully enough people at that point then, if there is peace, and then they put NATO troops in there, and then to ensure peace, and then they bring the money to invest and build and rebuild the infrastructure.
Not only build the money to invest because it could be prosperous and a big profit, but money to invest with the goal to build a showcase for Russians.
For sure.
Because of course Russians, most of Russians are not that stupid. They understand that Ukrainians, Russians, they are not very different in regards to many things, same Soviet background and so on. And if they see that for suddenly level, like life level, like how rich are people in Ukraine is 10 times more than it is in Russia, with all the Russian gas and oil, they will think, okay, maybe something wrong with our government, with our political system. And that's why the difference is. And they could bring changes in Russia easily. Because actually one of the factors what happened in 2014, 11 years ago, when some people in Crimea and the east part of Ukraine were supporting joining Russia, because economical situation. People in Russia were getting in average like 3 times bigger salary, 3 times bigger pension, and that was a driver for them. And there was no war at the time. So if you can just decide, okay, if you want to be in Ukraine or join Russia, I speak Russian, I'll join Russia, my life will improve 3 times. And it was because oil and gas money, right? But now, hopefully the situation will be completely opposite soon. And then Russian people would like to join
both areas are very rich, right? In resources, right? I mean, some of the best land in the world is in Ukraine, right? For the farming and that, right? So.
But Ukraine needs big investment, and it was part of Trump negotiation half a year ago when all this uranium and all of this.
The minerals, right?
Yeah, but they need huge investments, long-term investments for mining. And with these investments, it could be a boom,
Well, the only other thought that I had is like, and I don't know how diabolical Putin is, but like it sounds like he was talking peace, but then could his generals be rogue too, and just like, and then because he's done it a couple times where they talk peace, and then Trump has said, then the next day they have unloaded so many bombs, like it's just like, what the hell is going on here, right?
That's diabolical Putin. That's just his strategy. Like one of the things I also heard that pretty interesting, that how the summit ended in Alaska is that Putin said that well, we agree to guarantees of peace for Ukraine according to the agreement we suggested in 2022 in Istanbul. And Trump did not know all the details of that, and said, oh yeah, great, oh, you agreed to peace guarantees. And now if you open the proposal from 3 years ago, the guarantees were like that. Okay, Ukraine is neutral, never gets into NATO, have a very small army, and the guarantors of Ukrainian safety is Russia, United States, France, China, and Great Britain. These are guarantors. And in case of any invasion or threat to Ukraine, all 5 guarantors must unilaterally agree that Ukraine needs support.
Almost.
All 5.
Yeah.
So if Russia invades Ukraine, then for Ukraine to get any support from other countries, Russia have to.
So everybody gets a veto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as soon as you see this offer, it's crazy. You know, like it's.
Well, I'll leave the diplomacy to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, we're going to do a monthly update too.
We will.
And if there's bigger developments, and then and we had a young lady in here a while ago too, right? Mm-hmm. And how's she doing? I can't remember now. We had 2 young ladies come in.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I did not get update from them. I'll find out for next time, for in a month, and I'll get update about our truck where it is right now. That we purchased in Kelowna with your donations and volunteers, different volunteer organizations in Kelowna participated to rebuild it and make it good for going for the front line, and it's on the way to Europe right now.
And your English is pretty good, Max. So
thank you so much.
Just keep going, right? That's the only way it's going to get better, right? My mother came here from the Hungarian Revolution, fled here, and she some of the stories. She said she ate dog food because she looked at the can. And it was cheap, and then she thought, "Oh, pretty dog, right?" It was dog food, and then she said she was eating it, and she started crying. She said, "I can't stay in this country if the food's this bad."
That's funny. Yeah, but we will do petition for sure. So maybe next time I bring update a petition for all Canadians to sign to get people like Max immigration status in Canada. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Max, and thank you, Dennis.
Thank you so much.
You betcha. And until next time. Thank you for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us.